Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Every week we uncover fascinating coins that many people overlook, and one of them could already be sitting in your home, tucked away in an old drawer, forgotten coin album, or even mixed in with loose change. Thousands of people have thrown away valuable collectibles simply because they never stopped to take a closer look. Today, we are taking a close look at a 1986 South African coin, a piece of history that has attracted growing interest from collectors around the world. Imagine opening an old box that hasn't been touched in decades. Inside are faded photographs, handwritten letters, and a small handful of old coins. Most people would glance at them for only a moment before putting everything back. But experienced collectors know that every old coin deserves attention. A single date, a tiny minting error, or an unusually well-preserved example can completely change the story behind a coin. The year 1986 was one of the most significant periods in South African history. The country was experiencing political change, economic pressure, and international attention unlike almost any other time in its modern history. Every coin produced during that era became a small piece of the nation's story. These weren't just objects used to buy bread or pay for transportation. They were witnesses to history, passing through millions of hands while silently recording a moment in time. Today, collectors often search for coins from important historical years because they represent more than money. They represent memories, generations, and events that shaped a nation. That is one reason why interest in South African coins from the 1980s has continued to grow among collectors across the world. When someone first looks at a 1986 South African coin, they may only notice its basic design. It seems ordinary, familiar, and perhaps even common. But experienced collectors never stop with the first impression. They examine every detail carefully. The edges, lettering, surface quality, color, and even the smallest imperfections can reveal something special. Condition plays one of the biggest roles in determining collector interest. Two coins with exactly the same date may have completely different appeal. One may have spent years circulating through countless pockets, becoming scratched and worn. Another may have been carefully stored since the day it was issued, preserving nearly every original detail. To the average person, they might appear almost identical. To a collector, they can be worlds apart. Collectors often hold a coin under bright light and slowly rotate it. They watch how the light reflects across the surface. Original mint luster, sharp lettering, and crisp details are all signs that the coin has survived remarkably well over the years. Those characteristics often attract far greater interest than heavily worn examples. Another fascinating part of coin collecting involves minting mistakes. Even with strict quality control, tiny production errors sometimes escape inspection. A slightly off-center strike, unusual doubling in the lettering, missing design elements, or other uncommon minting varieties can instantly transform an ordinary-looking coin into something collectors actively search for. These errors are often difficult to notice without careful inspection. Many people have unknowingly spent unusual coins because they never realized there was anything different about them. That possibility keeps collectors searching through old collections, estate sales, flea markets, and inherited boxes of coins, hoping to discover something overlooked. Patience is one of the greatest qualities successful collectors possess. They understand that remarkable discoveries rarely happen overnight. Sometimes it takes years of searching before finding one truly memorable coin. Yet the excitement of that search keeps the hobby alive. Many older collectors enjoy remembering the days when these coins were still circulating every day. They recall receiving them as change at local shops, carrying them in wallets, or saving a few in jars without imagining that decades later people around the world would study the same coins with great interest. Those memories add an emotional value that cannot be measured in money alone. The worldwide community of coin collectors has grown tremendously over the past several decades. Through auctions, exhibitions, private collections, and collector clubs, South African coins have found new appreciation far beyond the country's borders. Enthusiasts enjoy comparing varieties, discussing historical backgrounds, and sharing stories of unexpected discoveries. Every old coin carries a journey. Think about how many pockets, purses, cash registers, banks, businesses, and families a single 1986 South African coin may have passed through. It may have been used to buy groceries, fuel, newspapers, or school supplies. It may have traveled hundreds or even thousands of miles before finally ending up in someone's collection today. That invisible journey is part of what fascinates collectors. Every scratch, every tiny mark, and every sign of age reminds us that these coins were once part of everyday life. They quietly witnessed ordinary moments that together became history. So before you dismiss an old South African coin as just another piece of spare change, take a closer look. Check the date carefully. Examine both sides under good lighting. Look for unusual details, sharp preservation, or anything that appears different from normal examples. Even if your coin turns out to be common, you've taken the first step into one of the world's most rewarding hobbies. And remember, the most valuable discovery isn't always the one with the highest price. Sometimes it's learning the incredible story hiding behind a small piece of metal that millions of people once overlooked. In the next part, we'll explore the features collectors examine even more closely, discuss why certain 1986 examples receive exceptional attention, and explain why sensational claims, including figures as high as $26 million, should always be verified carefully before believing them. If you've stayed with me this far, you're already ahead of most people. The difference between an ordinary person and a serious collector is not luck. It's curiosity. Collectors ask questions. They slow down. They examine details that everyone else ignores. And sometimes, that careful attention leads to an incredible discovery. One of the first things experienced collectors study is whether a coin has been cleaned. Many people believe polishing an old coin will increase its value. In reality, the opposite is often true. Harsh cleaning can leave tiny scratches and remove the original surface that collectors want to see. A coin that has aged naturally over decades is often far more desirable than one that has been polished until it shines like new. Another important detail is the sharpness of the design. Look closely at the lettering, the date, and every small feature. If these details remain crisp after decades, it usually means the coin experienced very little circulation. Coins preserved in this condition naturally attract more attention because far fewer survive compared with heavily worn examples. Collectors also compare one coin with another from the same year. Tiny differences that seem insignificant to most people can sometimes identify a special variety. A slightly different strike, unusual spacing, or a production characteristic may separate one example from thousands of ordinary coins. That is why experienced collectors never rely on a quick glance. They inspect every detail patiently. Family collections often produce the most exciting discoveries. Many people inherit boxes of coins from parents or grandparents without knowing what is inside. Those collections may have remained untouched for 30 or 40 years. Sometimes the owner simply placed every interesting coin into a small container and forgot about it. Decades later, a family member opens that same box and begins asking questions. This is one reason coin collecting continues to grow among older generations. Every collection tells a story. Some coins were saved because they were received on a special day. Others were kept after a memorable trip or important event. Even when a coin is not especially rare, its personal history makes it meaningful. The 1986 South African coin represents an important period in the country's history, and that historical connection increases collector interest. History gives ordinary objects extraordinary meaning. A coin is no longer just metal. It becomes a surviving witness to another era. Auction results often surprise people because two coins with the same date can sell for dramatically different amounts. The explanation usually comes down to rarity, condition, certification, and collector demand. A common circulated example may be worth only a modest amount, while an exceptionally rare variety in outstanding condition can attract intense competition whenever it appears for sale. That competition is what makes coin collecting exciting. Serious collectors spend years searching for pieces missing from their collections. When a coin they've been hunting finally appears, several determined buyers may compete for the opportunity to own it. Those moments create unforgettable auction stories and keep the hobby alive generation after generation. However, it is also important to separate fact from rumor. The internet is filled with dramatic headlines claiming that ordinary coins are worth millions of dollars. While these stories capture attention, they rarely tell the complete story. Extraordinary prices usually involve unique circumstances such as one-of-a-kind minting errors, museum quality preservation, remarkable historical importance, or exceptional documented provenance. If you own a 1986 South African coin, don't assume it is automatically worth a fortune, but don't dismiss it either. Examine it carefully. Compare its condition. If something appears unusual, consider having it evaluated by a reputable coin expert. Knowledge is always more valuable than guessing. Many valuable discoveries begin with a simple question: could this old coin be different? That single question has encouraged countless collectors to study their coins more closely. Some found only interesting history. Others found genuinely scarce pieces. Every collection begins with curiosity. Perhaps there is a forgotten envelope in your cupboard filled with old coins. Maybe your grandfather placed several coins in a wooden drawer many years ago. Maybe an old wallet tucked away in storage still contains change from decades past. Until you look, you'll never know what history may be waiting. The thrill of coin collecting is not only about money. It is about preserving history, learning new stories, and appreciating the craftsmanship that went into creating every coin. Each discovery connects us with people who lived before us and reminds us that even ordinary objects can become extraordinary over time. Now we come to the question many of you have been waiting for. How much could a 1986 South African coin actually be worth? For most examples, the value is modest and depends heavily on condition, rarity, and collector demand. Exceptionally preserved coins or unusual mint errors can command significantly higher prices than ordinary circulated pieces. From time to time, sensational claims circulate suggesting that a rare 1986 South African coin could be worth as much as $26 million. Such an extraordinary figure would require exceptional evidence, unique characteristics, and expert authentication. It should never be assumed that a typical 1986 coin carries that value. So before spending, selling, or giving away any old South African coin, take a few extra minutes to inspect it carefully. That small piece of metal could hold fascinating history, collector interest, or even a surprising premium if it proves to be an exceptional example. If you enjoyed today's journey into the world of coin collecting, subscribe to the channel, share this video with friends who enjoy history and rare coins, and keep checking your collections. You never know when an overlooked coin could become your most interesting discovery. Before we begin, do me one favor. Take a second to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. If you enjoy discovering hidden treasures that could be sitting in your own home, you're in the right place. Every week we uncover fascinating coins, forgotten collectibles, and incredible stories from around the world. One of these discoveries could change the way you look at the loose change in your pocket forever. Now imagine opening an old drawer that hasn't been touched in years. Inside is a small tin filled with coins collected over decades. Most people would glance inside, smile at the memories, and put the box back where they found it. But experienced collectors know something different. They know that history often hides in the smallest objects, and sometimes a single coin can become the centerpiece of an entire collection. Today's story is about the South Africa 50-cent coin from 1993. At first glance, it doesn't look extraordinary. It is a coin that many South Africans have seen before. Thousands of people spent these coins without giving them a second thought. Yet collectors continue to search for certain examples because every coin tells a story, and sometimes the smallest differences make the biggest impact. The year 1993 was one of the most significant years in South African history. The nation was preparing for enormous political and social changes. It was a period filled with uncertainty, hope, and transformation. Every coin produced during this time became more than just money. It became a small piece of history that reflected an important moment in the country's journey. When collectors examine a 1993 South Africa 50-cent coin, they don't simply ask how old it is. Instead, they begin asking a series of important questions. Is the coin still in outstanding condition? Has it remained untouched for decades? Does it show unusual features? Was it struck perfectly at the mint? Could it have an error that makes it different from millions of others? These are the questions that separate an ordinary coin from one that attracts serious collector interest. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing that every old coin is automatically valuable. Age alone rarely creates rarity. Millions of coins can survive for decades. What truly matters is scarcity, condition, collector demand, and sometimes a remarkable minting mistake that occurred during production. That is why experienced collectors never rush to judge a coin. They inspect every tiny detail under bright lighting and magnification. They look carefully at the lettering. They examine the edges. They study the date. They inspect the design for anything unusual. Even the smallest difference can become the reason collectors become interested. The South Africa 50-cent coin has long been appreciated because of its detailed design and its place in the country's monetary history. Many collectors enjoy building complete year sets, and the 1993 issue holds a special place because it represents one of the last years before South Africa entered a completely new chapter in its history. Imagine finding two identical-looking 1993 coins. To the average person, they appear exactly the same. But under magnification, one may have a tiny striking error while the other is completely normal. That tiny difference could completely change how collectors view the coin. Professional collectors spend years learning how to recognize these differences. They understand that collecting is not about luck alone. It is about patience, education, and careful observation. Condition is another factor that cannot be ignored. Coins that remain bright, clean, and free from heavy wear are always more desirable than coins that have circulated for decades. Every scratch, every dent, and every worn detail can affect collector interest. This is why many collectors advise people never to clean old coins. Cleaning can remove the original surface that collectors value. A shiny coin is not always a better coin. In fact, improper cleaning often reduces collector appeal because it changes the original finish left by the mint. Many families unknowingly own coins that have been sitting safely inside envelopes, coin albums, or forgotten boxes for years. These coins may have escaped the everyday wear that most circulating coins experience. When preserved properly, they often become far more attractive to collectors than heavily used examples. Some collectors also search for coins with unusual production characteristics. During the minting process, machines operate with incredible precision, but no manufacturing system is absolutely perfect. Occasionally, small mistakes occur. These mint errors are among the most fascinating discoveries in the hobby because they create coins that are different from the standard design. Finding one of these unusual pieces requires patience and careful examination. Most coins will be completely normal, but every collector knows that remarkable discoveries sometimes appear when least expected. That possibility is exactly what keeps millions of collectors searching through jars of loose change, inherited collections, estate sales, and old family boxes year after year. Perhaps the next remarkable discovery is already sitting in someone's drawer, waiting for the right person to notice it. There is something exciting about holding a coin that has survived decades. Think about all the hands this 1993 South Africa 50-cent coin may have passed through. It may have been used to buy groceries, pay for public transport, or exchanged in a local market during one of the most important periods in South African history. Every mark on the coin represents part of a journey that can never be repeated. Many longtime collectors say that the thrill of coin collecting is not simply about making money. It is about preserving history. Every coin captures a moment in time. Governments change. Economies change. People change. Yet the coin remains exactly as it was when it left the mint decades ago. When experienced collectors search for a 1993 South Africa 50-cent coin, they pay close attention to several important details. First, they inspect the coin's surface under strong light. They look for original mint luster, the natural shine that remains on coins that have seen little or no circulation. A coin with untouched mint luster often attracts much greater interest than one that has become dull through years of everyday use. Next comes the strike quality. Even though coins are produced by highly accurate machines, not every strike is identical. Some examples show sharper details than others. Strongly struck lettering, crisp design elements, and clean edges all contribute to a coin's overall appeal. Collectors also study the rim. A damaged or heavily worn rim may reduce interest, while a well-preserved rim can indicate careful handling over many years. Small details like these may seem unimportant to casual observers, but they matter greatly in the world of numismatics. Then there is the search for mint errors. While uncommon, genuine mint errors are among the most exciting discoveries a collector can make. Off-center strikes, doubled lettering, clipped planchets, or other authenticated production mistakes can transform an otherwise ordinary coin into something much more desirable. This is why knowledgeable collectors never dismiss a coin after only a quick glance. Patience is one of the greatest skills a collector can develop. Some spend years searching before finding a coin that completes their collection. Others inherit old albums from parents or grandparents and discover pieces that have quietly appreciated in collector interest over time. If you have a container filled with old South African coins, now may be the perfect time to examine them carefully. Separate the 1993 50-cent coins from the rest. Compare each one under good lighting. Notice the details. Check whether one appears significantly sharper or better preserved than the others. Even if they look similar at first, closer inspection often reveals important differences. Remember, never polish or clean an old coin. Many people believe cleaning improves value, but collectors generally prefer original surfaces. Once the original finish has been altered, it cannot be restored. Another important step is proper storage. Keep coins in protective holders or acid-free flips. Avoid touching the faces with your fingers whenever possible. Hold them gently by the edges to reduce the risk of fingerprints or scratches. Simple habits like these can help preserve a coin's condition for many years. Now let's talk about value. Many videos online promise that every old coin is worth a fortune, but that simply isn't true. The vast majority of 1993 South Africa 50-cent coins that circulated in everyday commerce are worth only a modest premium over face value, depending on their condition and collector demand. However, coins in exceptional uncirculated condition, especially those professionally graded or displaying rare, authenticated mint errors, can be worth considerably more to the right collector than an ordinary circulated example. Their value depends on rarity, condition, authenticity, and the current collector market, not on age alone. That is why it is so important to have any potentially unusual coin evaluated by a reputable coin expert or professional grading service before believing extraordinary price claims. The real treasure in coin collecting is knowledge. The more you learn, the better your chances of recognizing something special when it appears. Every experienced collector started exactly where you are now, with curiosity and a willingness to look a little closer. So before you spend another old coin, pause for a moment. Check the date. Examine the details. Compare it with others. You may not discover a life-changing rarity every day, but every careful inspection makes you a more knowledgeable collector. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the fascinating world of South African coins, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment telling us what interesting coins you found, and share this video with fellow collectors. You never know whose forgotten coin collection could contain the next exciting discovery.